Hello, Actives. This is John McGarry, Vice President of Sales here at Actives. I'm incredibly excited and honored to have two wonderful gentlemen gathered with us today all across the country. We've got David Brown, the CEO of Actives, who is joining us from Utah, and we've got Admiral Matt Winter, who is joining us from beautiful sunny Florida. Who is also a member and a very honored member of our advisory board. And we're incredibly grateful to have these two gentlemen here for our very first advisory board call, the first of many. And with that said, I will turn this call over to CEO, Mr. David Brown.
Thanks, John. Thanks for that introduction. It is an exciting night. It's great to be here with Admiral Matt Winter of our advisory board. And hello to all of you out there at Actives tonight. First of all, thanks for all that you do. You really are the best part of Actives and what we're all about. And the difference that you're making in the lives of others has not gone unnoticed. And we're looking forward to seeing you in person and spending more time with you going forward. You know, first of all, I think it might be appropriate for me to talk about why we have an advisory board. A lot of companies have scientific advisory board or medical advisory boards, and many times those board members are really for letterhead purposes only. They don't really do much. They try to rely upon their credentials, their bona fides in order to give credibility to the company, and there's really nothing wrong with that. But as we've talked about many times, we want Actives to be a very different type of company. We want to set and establish an entirely different type of paradigm, including those people from outside the company that choose to associate with us. We want them to share the same vision, the same goals, and they actually want to have them help us with their talents, their abilities, and their contacts, and their own sphere of influence to help us further our mission, further our goals. And so some of those people will by very nature be scientists, some will be medical doctors, and some will be very accomplished people in other fields. And I think that certainly in my experience, and the experience of most companies that I'm familiar with, it's very rare to have a sitting admiral of the United States Navy be able to join an advisory board such as this. And I feel incredibly honored and grateful that Admiral Matt Winter has not only chosen to consider Actives and what we're all about and utilize the products, which we'll talk about more, but also to agree to join our advisory board and to lend his expertise, his counsel, and his advice to us along the way. So with that said, Admiral, welcome. We're glad to have you here with us tonight.
Thanks, David. I appreciate that introduction, and it's great to be here this evening as well. Thank you.
Well, on that note, because no one knows too much about you, because this is our first introduction of you, although I will say this, they got a little taste of what you're all about by the press release that went out yesterday, talking about your background in a little bit of detail. But maybe if you wouldn't mind, would you let us know about your background in the military, including what got you interested in joining the Navy, and a little bit about your progress and your duties today?
Sure, David. Thank you very much. Well, first of all, I appreciate that press release and getting that out on the wire. I'm a humble individual by DNA thread, and so reading about myself isn't what I like to do, but I will talk a little bit about my background to give the Actives team here an appreciation for why I am excited and committed to the mission and to the outcomes that Actives brings to the table. I'm a 35-year plus active duty naval officer with initial mission skill set of naval aviation. We call that flying jets. And I flew the A-6 Intruder, which is the venerable attack aircraft of our aircraft carriers for 15 years. And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the flying, I enjoyed the mission, but what I really enjoyed was leadership. It was leading the men and women of our Navy, not only military, but also the civilians, to mission accomplishment. That reminded me of the way I was brought up. I was brought up in a very big Catholic family with good core values, with a focus on accomplishment and taking care of each other in a team way. 3 sisters and 2 brothers, sort of like the Brady Bunch. I'm Peter, number 2. And my father was a physicist. My mother was an English teacher. So good grounding on technical as well as the arts. And all of that sort of came together and a focus on making yourself better. And with that, the United States Navy gave me the opportunity with a scholarship. I took that scholarship to the University of Notre Dame and graduated with a technical degree in mechanical engineering. And I was off and running into our United States Navy. As we continued, I continued through that first part of my career. I was going back and forth with, do I continue to serve or do I continue to move on and do something different? Something that I found later in life to be sort of a crossroads that all of us come to. I decided to stay in and continue to serve this great country, put service above self, and I transitioned from flying jets into what we call our acquisition enterprise. That is where you go in and work with civilian leadership as well as our defense industry and help design, develop, and deliver the systems that I was using for the first half of my career. So with that empirical and actual experience, now I get to be able to be part of that, that cadre that actually designs and makes sure that those systems are being used by our military effectively and affordably, and ensures that they are mission success. So I've been doing that, David, for the last 18 to 20 years, and I've really enjoyed that. It's really broadened my horizons, and this latest leadership position that I'm in now is the largest acquisition to enterprise, not only of the United States, but of the global landscape, in developing, delivering, and operating the 5th generation strike fighter. It's truly a Star Warsian capability that our United States Air Force, our United States Marine Corps, and our United States Navy, and 14 of our international partners around the world, to include Japan, are utilizing today. It's an exciting job. It's a global reach. It requires the decision-making, the leadership, and the tenets that I see in the Actives Leadership Board to come together to be successful. So that's a little bit about me. I'm a pretty open book, but I hold myself accountable, and those that work with me enjoy being mission successful. Thanks, David.
Well, that's great. As I was listening to you talk at the beginning about your experience in flying planes off of aircraft carriers, I was thinking that many of the people who dial in are going to say, that's how I recognize him. He's the Tom Cruise character in Top Gun. So
yeah,
you probably get that a lot.
Yeah, so we enjoyed in fact, Top Gun 2 is in filming right now, but Top Gun 1 back in the 80s actually was one of our biggest boosts for naval aviation recruiting, and Tom Cruise did a good job for us on that.
Well, as I was listening to you talk about your most recent duties and initiatives that you're involved with this Stryker team, and hearing you talk about how global it is in its reach, the fact that you're not only interacting with all of our top military leaders and our top civilian leaders here in the United States, but with 14 countries around the world. Once again, it just really humbles me and makes me so grateful that you're also taking time out of all of that to spend time with a startup in Actives that so far is making a small but significant impact in the lives of others. And I'm so looking forward to the impact we'll make with your help and others along the way as well.
Well, David, I agree. I will say that each and every one of us has 24 hours in our day. Nobody's broken the code on how to get 25 hours yet. And in that time management, we all have priorities. And I put my priorities of God, myself, family, and mission. And putting that all together, finding the priorities to engage with Actives and what Actives stands for, not only from a business perspective, but in helping the individual be a better person. I find that to be very connecting to my own core values.
Well, that's great. Well, on that note, maybe you could take a few minutes and share how you first heard about Actives.
Well, I first heard about Actives from a very good friend, she's an entrepreneur to the 10th degree in my book. A lot of great insights, a business savvy, motivation, and she brought that to my attention because of her understanding of my core values and my passion to be part of something bigger than myself. And in that, she shared with me your business model, shared with me the product line, shared with me some of the outcomes from other countries. And in that, I started to resonate with the company's business model and actually something that I could contribute and to make a difference. So that's been over the last about 8 to 9 months. And I will tell you that when I commit to something, I commit fully. I won't commit to something if I don't have the time, because time is precious. And when I saw the value of what Actives brings to the table for the individual as well as the team, I said it's time well spent for me to engage.
Well, so that everyone who's listening has no doubt about whom you're talking to. I know she's listening tonight. We both know that that's Karen Toth, and she and her husband, Ed, are not only business partners of mine and ours in Actives, but also taking the lead in, especially here in the United States, in distributor activities and setting an example and setting the pace. And I'm really grateful to her for introducing us to you. And I know that you share my admiration for her and her family.
Absolutely. Karen and her family, Karen and Ed and their children are just great people. And she really is one of a kind. She explained Actives to me, explained the business model clearly, accurately, and expeditiously. Her mastery of the English language as well as other language that allows us to get points across to each other is nothing short of outstanding. So I really do appreciate and continue to appreciate her friendship and her business partnership.
Now, at the beginning of the call, I mentioned that we are doing things in a different manner through the establishment of our advisory board, but that's not the only place that we think that we're different. We're different in terms of what we call our omni-channel approach, really trying to provide our products where we meet people. And but one of those channels that we're taking advantage of as part of our business model is direct marketing, network marketing. And you explained that Karen told you about that. And, you know, there are stigmas and there are stereotypes associated with that brand of marketing here in the United States and in other areas. So when you first heard about that, I'm sure that you're familiar with some of the negative stereotypes. How did you overcome that in your own mind and feel like this is something that you'd like to be part of?
Well, it's a great question, David. You know, the whole stigma of tiered marketing and pressure on individuals and trying to make things happen versus through pressure versus through collaboration and cooperation. As I started to listen to Karen, and I myself, when I'm going to commit, I got a few books on network marketing and read different perspectives, different authors' ideas on that. And I became enlightened in understanding the benefits of network marketing, and they're really rooted in the individual. The individual has control. The individual sets their own goals, sets the outcomes, and the pressure is either self-imposed or it's not there. I found fascinating reads by different authors with different product lines, but they all came back to the individual and how you can control your own outcomes and set your own marketing activities. That's what really gave me the sense that the pressure is on your own and the opportunities are endless. So it debunked any myths of any negativisms after understanding that and talking with Karen to get to the bottom. So I feel very confident that network marketing is a very useful, effective, and collaborative way to go forward.
Well, the words that you use there, take control or control the things that you can control, are very central to us here. As we've talked about in the past, we want to be able to truly show people how they can activate maybe aspects of their lives that in the past they felt like they could not have any control over. And frankly, you know, it's kind of, my father served in the military. He was in the Army. And he would tell me about one saying, I don't know if they say this in the Navy or not, but when he said that when you're in charge, take charge. And so referring to sometimes you don't know when you're going to have that responsibility of taking charge thrust upon you, but when you do, you should take charge. And I think the same thing's true of our own health, of our own financial status, of our own aspects of life that, hey, we're in charge of it, so we should take charge.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, David, let me say thank you to your father's service. All of us wear the cloth of our nation, regardless if it's a uniform or civilian clothes. I will tell you that one of my winterisms, as I call it in my leadership model, is there needs to be a leader and there needs to be somebody in charge. We need to take the leadership mantle when it's presented to us. Though it could be uncertain in your mind, you could be a bit scary, it could be the unknown facing you. The exhilaration and the sense of accomplishment when you grab that mantle and you put your plan together and you establish your goals, knowing that you're not going to be perfect. In fact, I say progress, not perfection. It's important to keep moving forward. And as leaders, we're all leaders. You may be a leader of one or a leader of thousands, but in that, the excitement of being able to put that plan together and look at those goals that you establish and then watch that progress. There's nothing more satisfying, at least for me as a leader, to watch my teams grow, develop, and succeed, as well as fail and stumble, and then be picked back up and continue to move forward.
That's great advice. I'm sure that many that are listening tonight are learning from that and saying that's exactly how we feel. We're a little scared, we're a little nervous, we're not sure if we can succeed at this, but I really think that what you said was progress. We all chart progress and have different goals, and what's good for you might not be what's good for me. And that's the whole beauty of this, isn't it?
Absolutely. The individuality of this is a very, I call a very enticing attribute of this network marketing. But at the same time, you're building teams. You're bringing human beings together with a common purpose. I call it a unity of effort. That unity of effort in a common framework really gives you a sense of confidence that you can achieve what you think might be unachievable. Be able to climb that hill, that insurmountable challenge. I find the military experience that I bring to the table and that I will bring to the advisory board gives a fresh perspective of that leadership, decision-making, service above self that then crosses the nexus of technology and science that really comes, I think, together to give a pretty formidable body of knowledge and recommendations to the leadership of actives.
Well, I totally agree with that. In fact, we're having veterans join us in other aspects as distributors and as customers. Is there anything in particular in regards to military training generally that you think will hold people in good stead as they seek to try something new and be a distributor?
Absolutely, David. The core foundation of our military service is volunteerism. We're an all-volunteer force. Actives, you're volunteering. You're coming forward because you want to, because you see something in actives that resonates with you individually. And together, that volunteerism that we have in our military that really builds teams, brings the camaraderie, the unity of effort for mission success is almost exactly analogous to what I see with actives. You come together, you can use that experience, that perseverance in your military career, the challenge and the zest to continue to move forward and to work with your shipmate, your wingman, your airmen together to be successful. And when somebody stumbles, you help them up. And when you stumble, somebody will be here to help you up to go forward. I see a lot of that analogy between military service and the business and the framework that Actives has laid out here.
Well, I like the way that you use the term shipmates and wingman and wingmate and things like that. Instead of using words like distributors and customers, maybe we ought to refer to everybody as shipmates to make sure that everybody knows that we're all in this together, because we really do feel like we are. A word that we use instead is we often refer to ourselves as the Actives family, because we really do want to be looking out for each other. But the things that you were saying, it occurred to me, don't just resonate with those who have been in the military. What advice would you give if there are people who are dissatisfied with their station in life in regards to their health, their financial status or other aspects of their life that they might feel are just not where they want to be. What advice would you give that person?
Well, I would say, David, first I'd say today is your day. Yesterday is in the rearview mirror. Today's your day. Take stock of yourself, be it physically, your health, financially, your family. Take stock of it. Write it down. And then look at that and say, what do you want to change? And don't get over enamored with the entire list. You need to be able to pick your goal and move forward. So as you look at the challenges that are facing you in your life, I will tell you personally, I have lots of challenges. It doesn't matter who you're looking at, and you say that that person has their complete life together, they have no issues, they have no problems. We all do. And it's important to know that there's misery in company, and understanding that we are walking through life together, and we come together as human beings and as people to help each other. So for those not in the military, it doesn't matter what organization, it doesn't matter if you don't have a job, wherever you are in life, you have control of yourself. You have the ability to make yourself better. And in fact, I will tell you, and those that are listening, you are the only one that knows how hard you work, the only one knows that where your weaknesses are, the only one that really understands your strengths. So in that power comes your ability to change yourself. And then you put down those ideas, you put down those goals, you chart progress, and then go seek help. It's okay, it's not a sign of weakness. Go seek help with family members or neighbors or community. And if you feel that you can't go out and touch anybody, I'm offering myself right now. I'd be more than happy to help. And understand where your strengths and weaknesses are, and then you can start to move forward. And don't expect to win the marathon in one day. You need to make sure you take the steps that give you progress, that give you not just the hope, but the satisfaction that you truly can accomplish the things you want to accomplish. And that's everybody, and everybody has that opportunity, David.
Well, I appreciate that. Those are inspiring words. You know, we have a number of people who have chosen to do just exactly what you've suggested and to take action in their lives. We have a lot of others who that they're talking to who are still kind of on the sidelines. They're kicking the tires, so to speak, and seeing what we're all about. I know that before you chose to join us, you vetted us. You checked my background and my team's background and found out what we're all about. Have you had an opportunity to try our products?
I did, David. I will say, on one point you just mentioned, I will say that for those that are sitting on the sidelines that are, kicking the tires and waiting to see, my saying is I would rather regret the things I've done than regret the things I haven't done. And when you don't try, you'll never know. And so part of Actives is a great framework that gives you a foundation to try from. And in that, the products, which I have tried all the products. And I will tell you that I'm a pretty bare bones, individual when it comes to, taking medicine, taking supplements, taking things to make myself look better. I've got a pretty rigid, in my own mind, timeline of readiness and so forth. But when I had the opportunity to try Link, the genetic supplement to help that increased brain function, the cognitive engagement, I reached back upon my experience on my previous leadership position before the one I'm in now as the Chief of Naval Research. I called myself the mad scientist of the Navy and the Marine Corps. Where I had 4,000 PhD scientists studying everything across the spectrum of discovery and invention. And part of that was understanding the butyric acid effect in the gut and the brain. And so when I had Karen talk to me about and lay out the products, and she actually talked about butyric acid, it was something I was familiar with, not only from a desire, but a technically and scientifically based interaction that's proven. So it's hard for me to debate science when it's proven. And I would say that as I started to take Link, I wanted to make sure I wasn't just convincing myself that it was helping or there was a difference or the psychosomatic effects that you could have. And so I did what I do when I'm a tester and with our systems that we deliver to our military. I did a test and I wrote down my feelings. I wrote down the actions and the cognitive differences. And cognitive for those folks are the way you think, the way you feel, the way you actually engage and talk and think. And I noticed a difference. Now, not a drastic difference. They shouldn't put me in for a Nobel Peace Prize or anything. But however, I did feel different. And I was a little keener, a little sharper. And in my day-to-day activities where I am interfacing with the most senior civilian political leadership in the United States and in those international countries, that gave me an edge. It gave me an edge to be able to clearly articulate the messages, the ideas that we needed to get across to those leaders. So I found Link to be and I continue to take Link to continue to give me that cognitive edge. On the facial and the Amora line, I actually do use the face toner because, at 55 plus years old, the lines on the face are there. I'm not a very vain individual. But I do like to make sure that I continue to take care of myself. And I found after 3 months, I found a drastic difference in the tone of my face and the makeup and the shine and the pliability of my skin. So it does work as well. So the science behind these products are indisputable in my opinion. And my personal experience of using these products has positive outcomes for me personally. And so I will continue to use the Actives products, David.
Well, that's great. Well, if you're like me, any edge intellectually or cognitively that you can get, you'll take, right?
Right,
and,
amen.
And I'm sure that you must have had many examples of walking into the White House or the Pentagon and people saying, "Oh, Admiral, your skin looks so much better." Oh, I'm just kidding. That probably didn't happen, but you're looking good to me.
Thanks, Dave. Well, the problem when you get into senior positions, sometimes everybody tells you you look good and everything's fine when it's not, right? And so you got to be able to foster a sense of accountability, but also collaboration with your teams so they can bring you the bad news and the good news. So you can make things happen. And I do have people telling me that my face looks a little different, but maybe that's just because I'm happy and I'm smiling more now.
Well, again, like brain function, any little advantage we get on that too, we'll take as well. Well, in conclusion, I want to first thank you for taking the time out. We really are just overjoyed and really pleased beyond words that you would choose Actives to spend some of your time with and to participate with. I often tell people that we really do rely upon their halo, the reputation that they have within their circle of influence. And we take it very seriously because we know that they are, like you said, a volunteer force. No one is forcing them. They're not getting a guaranteed monthly paycheck or anything like that. And so they're doing some very difficult things. To talk to people about products, butyric acid, you are familiar with it. I'll tell you what, before it was introduced to me, I wasn't familiar with it. And so the vast majority of people will not be familiar with it. And so, to put yourself in that position, to talk about new things, to talk to people about business opportunities against the stigma and stereotype we talked about, it takes a lot of courage. And we really admire that. We want to support that. And we really want to, the best way that we can support it, I think, is to make sure that we align ourselves with individuals whose reputation is above reproach, like yours, and who people trust. And they say, if Admiral Winter is joining this company and has vetted this company, maybe I'll take a little bit harder look. And then finally, we tell the truth. If we say that a product does something it's not going to be just because it happened to work for Admiral Winter. That's great, but it's also going to be buttressed and supported by real hard science that's going to pass the muster of the former head of the Chief of Naval Research as well, as opposed to just Admiral Winter's personal experience. So that's really important for us. Now, in conclusion, what would you say to those who are, again, you kind of touched upon this, but in terms of recommending actives and talking about it, what would you say to those people who are just thinking about it and are on the fence? Any final words of advice you'd give them?
Sure. The confidence to try something comes from within. And so I recommend to those that are thinking about that to do your own research. Go online. The ability to understand not just about actives, but about network marketing, about the science behind the projects, about the business model. It's all there for you to absorb and come to your own conclusions. I will tell you that nobody forces me to do anything. I get my own information and I figure things out and I make a step and I put a goal together and I step off and start executing. I would recommend to those to take a few days to look at the model, understand the research and how it can connect to you personally and professionally, and then don't wait. Regret doing something, don't regret not doing it, and move off and enjoying the actives family. I know you won't regret it.
Well, thank you. Well, speaking of the actives family, all of you that are online tonight and listening to this later, we want to thank you for your time as well. You can look forward to hearing and seeing more from Admiral Matt Winter. We're going to take advantage of his expertise and his ability to inspire and provide good leadership lessons and also things that can apply to things, whether it be the Navy, network marketing, or any other aspect of your personal life. We all want to succeed. We all want to win. And I think that's a universal hope and desire that for ourselves and for our families that we can progress within the sphere and within the abilities that we have. And so we look forward to working with you to touch the lives of now thousands and soon to be tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of people around the world, Admiral Winter. And thanks again for your time. I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you, David, and good night.